Welcome back, everybody. Mr. Allen here. Just going to go through the second part of creating your website / portfolio. In File Explorer, under this PC, you should be able to see the public drive. If you can't, try rebooting your machine first. I'm told it should be there and there shouldn't be a problem. If you still can't find it, we can download the zip file. If you know how to deal with zip files, that's great. If not, I can help you. But inside of the public drive, there is an Allen folder, inside of which is this ICS sample HTML site. I'm going to suggest you copy that to your existing in Documents ICS folder and paste it there. Now I was doing that with right clicks. Again, if you have right click ability, that's great. If it's been blocked by the system administrator, then you can do regular copy paste using some other method. Inside of this are now two sites. The one called Basic Site is kind of the bare bones and the one that probably most of you will want to look at initially. If you have some experience, I've got a few other things in the HTML sample site. So I guess we'll look at the Basic Site first. When I double click on it, it opens up, because of the HTML extension, it opens up in a browser, either Edge or Chrome, depending on how the computers are set up. And basically just shows you kind of what the site looks like. What I've included are a series of headers. Headers are titles, and H1 is the largest, H2 is the second, and so on. Obviously, we can change how they look specifically, and we'll get to that in just a second. You have options of H1 to H6. You may not be able to see that if I zoom. H6, this is an H6 heading, it's the smallest. This is my attempt at making an H7 heading. It's not real, and so it doesn't really show up. Computer just ignores it though, it doesn't crash or anything, so it's not really a problem when you make a mistake, but it'll mess up the look of the website. And then the only other things I've included here are how to make a paragraph, and you can't really even tell from that, but it just separates that line from previous lines. And there's an option to use a BR tag, which we'll see again in a second, and it just moves things down, so if you just kind of want to play with your spacing a little bit. And then the last thing are the important things, the hyperlinks. I've got information showing sort of how to link to another website, and when you click on it, I have it set up to open a new tab. This is really an excellent site for, if you want to learn to use HTML. Off to the side, of course, it just sort of says what the options are. If I wanted to play with my formatting, if I want to change some colors, all of that's in here. And then the second link shows how to link to a document that's on the computer. So I'm going to shrink that. And now I'm going to right click on this and open it with Notepad. If you don't see Notepad on your initial list, that's because you haven't opened this way before. You can choose another app and then search for Notepad, and it'll appear on this list, I think, moving forward, again, depending on how the computers are set up. So this is the programming I've done for the website. Maybe I'll pull this up in behind, pull this up on top. And so you may not be able to see it very well, but essentially this is the bare bones of an HTML document. So you can pretty much copy this entire thing into your page eventually, and then just kind of delete the things you don't want and edit the things you do. So in the basics, kind of going top to bottom, this is just a comment for us to know that it's an HTML document. Probably didn't even need to be there. This first tag, HTML, tells the computer to read this as an HTML document. And then the header is where we'll put kind of generalized information for the whole site. Right now there's none in there, and that's fine. The advanced site has some stuff in there, so we'll take a look at it momentarily. These first couple of things are just comments. Essentially, when you put this open angle bracket followed by a exclamation point, you're creating a comment, so the computer just knows to ignore everything in here. This is just so that you can leave yourself notes or leave notes for others who are working in the same file, and it closes with a right angle the other direction. All of the work in HTML will always have a start and a finish, kind of like this head slash head. Slash head is the end. We have HTML at the top. We have slash HTML way down here at the bottom. We have an open bracket body here. We have a slash body at the bottom to indicate the end of that. The body is sort of where the vast majority of the information will go. So this is just kind of how I make notes in HTML. I like to use the stars to just to separate things so that it's really clear. This whole section is just a bunch of comments and the computer is going to ignore it. So the basics here, the body, I've made the background color yellow. You should be able to see that, of course. You can also, of course, change this to other values. If I make it red, I save it, and then I refresh my screen, the background color becomes red. I don't like that. Control S allows me to save it again, and then when I hit, so you can see the changes fairly quickly just by saving whatever you've done, and then by refreshing the web page. Without going through this too much, you can sort of see this first thing says this is an H1 heading, and then how do I make an H1 heading? Well, it's right here. This is an H1 heading. It's the biggest. The text in between the H1 tag and the /H1 tag is what shows up. This H1 tag, this is what I keep referring to as a tag, tells the computer that's the command essentially that I want you to follow. And then you can see you can change the individual tags a little bit as well. Here I'm changing the style in the H3 to have a background color of gray, to have a text color of orange, to have a border of 4 points that is solid blue. And again, fairly obvious, I think that that's what's going on there. Here I've changed the style or the, I've changed the color of the text to be purple. This is an H4 heading, and of course, you can see that it's purple over here. So that's just kind of getting some titles on your screen. You can pick one or two that are appropriate. Maybe the top one, an H1 that says Mike's webpage, and then an H3 that says links to assignments or something like that is all you really need at this point. And then sort of this is a paragraph. What happens there is if you have something that follows it, the paragraph just kind of separates things one line to the next. Whereas if I typed that exact same thing without the paragraphs, it ends up right beside it. So you may not have seen that, but basically just this became a single line, even though I had spacing in my written HTML section until I actually put in the end paragraph, or a new paragraph would have been an option as well. Just tell the computer that that's time to make things a new line. And BR is similar. It stands for break. It doesn't change the formatting quite as much as the paragraph symbol does, but it does the same thing. Just kind of, if you put a few of these in, and save, when I refresh, I've knocked the code here for BR forces down a few more lines down. So again, those are just things that you can kind of play around with as you're putting stuff into the website, just to get spacing, to get the layout a little bit nicer. The real key, of course, will be the hyperlinks. And I have 2 hyperlinks, one to another web page. You can sort of, again, you'll see this here, and then one to a file on the system, and you'll see that right here. Now the key is that when it says AH reference, that's telling the computer, okay, this is going to be a link, and then either it's going to see information about files, so in this case the name of a folder called HTML assigns and the file called ICS all curriculum, or in the previous link here it sees HTTPS, which tells it it's a hyperlink on the internet, and then the name of the link to which it's going to go. Target equals blank basically sends thing is what we've put in to make it open in a new web page as opposed to just opening over top of the site we were already on. So you can leave that off entirely. So cut that out, save it again. When I refresh, and then when I hit the link, it stays in the same tab, moves the current page kind of into the back area. So if you want to have your website open and it opening something else the way it did initially, you want to make sure you leave that target blank in there. Let's put that back. I like that. So those are the basics. And I'll put together a quick video in a moment to show how you're going to link to the actual assignments once we get into Visual Basic. But until you have your first Visual Basic assignment done, you won't be working on that specifically. Really quickly, if you are interested in anything else, double clicking on that one shows there's a few more options here, including ordering lists, adding images, adding in this case, it's an image as a link. So this link, or this image, sorry, links to a Star Wars search in Google. Essentially, all I did was I took that whole thing. I searched for Star Wars in Google initially. Then I took the entire content of this bar, pasted it into the hyperlink. We'll open that really quickly. And again, just a few more options in here. So if you're feeling a bit more comfortable or a bit more adventurous, you can take a look at it. And you can also look at the HTML site that we linked to on the other page. So all the way down here I set the little Star Wars image up as a link to Google search. And so you can sort of see that I have the AH reference that we just talked about. But instead of something short here, I have this whole thing as the link, https:/Google search, all that other stuff. So you can paste anything you want in there, or any legitimate URL into there, and it becomes the reference for the link.